What is up, students? It's Devlin Cassidy, aka the Scholar, and I have a very, very special guest with me today. We've got Crow from the one and only Kingslayer Cards with me. Crow, you want to say hi to the folks?
What is good people? Crow here from Kingslayer Cards.
There we go. And so we are here today because Crow got first place at Tri Format for Duluth. And if you want the opportunity, before we segue, kind of get the player interview and we talk about his deck and everything, if you guys want to come down to Atlanta, Georgia on July 20th and 21st, Kingslayer Cards is holding a wonderful tournament that I'm going to let Crow talk about more since he's the segue guy on headline and everything.
Gotcha. All right, guys. So Kingslayer Cards and I are hosting a $6,000 tournament on July, if I'm not mistaken, 20th and 21st. Let me actually just pull up my handy dandy notes. And on June 8th, I myself will be hosting Crow's Nest $1,000 tournament for standard. And of course, both will be in the Atlanta area. It will be in the Stone Mountain area, relatively nice place. The venue that we will be using is going to be Charlie's Collectible Show. The venue is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. If anybody's ever heard of Frankenstein's before, it's a similar type vibe. If you've never heard of Frankenstein's, think of going to like a mini anime convention and artist gallery. It's pretty much what it is. They have a bunch of different collectibles, figures, Gundams, TCG product, you name it. It's a good vibe, great people. And this was my first time hosting the previous Crow's Nest for Premium, and everybody fell in love with it. So, and I myself also love the venue as well and the people else there. So hopefully I'll catch you guys there. Remember, June 8th, standard 1K tournament, and July 20th and 21st, we have a $6,000 tournament, 4K for standard, 2K for premium. No,
for sure. For sure. All right. And if you guys can't pop out and still want to support one of the most fabulous stores in the game, make sure you guys use the promo code Scholar when shopping with Kingslayer Cards. It supports me and Crow's sponsor as well as the channel, and most importantly, gets you cardboard. So please do ahead and go do that. But enough about what we got going on. Let's talk about what you did, my boy. So you were on the V Premium slot for one of Kingslayer's tri-format teams. And so as you guys can see, Crow picked Anj. Do you want to kind of talk about how that came about for your pick in a very interesting V meta format?
Okay, so we have a very, very long story, but I'm going to keep it as sweet and simple as possible. I got stuck in V, to be honest with you. I personally wanted to play Premium, but my team was like, Crow, you're one of the strongest V players in the world, and we think that you're better suited to play this format compared to the other two. Granted, I'm pretty strong in standard. I'm pretty strong in premium as well. I think I'm pretty well versed in most formats, to be honest with you. But then just looking at the way that my team was set up, having Ali on premium and having Will on standard, considering also, congrats to Will, by the way, big shout out to him as well for winning not only just day 2, but also day 1. Once I seen how he kind of played, I was like, holy crap, he's pretty good in standard. Okay, this is a guy I can trust. Originally, I was supposed to team with James. Unfortunately, some stuff happened. Things didn't really fall through, but big shout outs to him as well and Richard, because Richard, not only did he win day 1, he also topped day 2. Big shout outs to James as well for also getting his first top at a major event as well. So kudos to him. So everything worked out at the end. But
it did.
But just trying to stay on topic. Yes, I got stuck in the V Premium slot, which I'm perfectly fine with. I was pretty comfortable with it as well, since I'm pretty well versed in the format. And I decided to take Anj. Why Anj, you would say? I I tested Gurgwit. I think Gurgwit is the best deck in the format. Don't get me wrong. I wholeheartedly do. And it's really good off the high roll. And even if you kind of low roll, it's still pretty solid as well, to be honest with you. The reason why I chose Anj is because I was sitting there practicing with one of my local players. Shout out to Graylin as well. And I just felt like I was suffering, to be honest with you. I was sitting there playing the mirror. I was like, this is not fun. I'm not enjoying this. I think I was 2-3 against him. If even, maybe 1-4. I can't even remember, to be honest with you. We played a handful of games, but just playing the Gurgle mirror just felt terrible. And I had a bunch of different ideas of what I wanted to bring or what I could have brought. I was thinking, I could play Leopold since I don't want to play the mirror. I could just bring Gurgle and play the mirror all day, which I'm glad I did not. I will give you my breakdown in a second on what I actually played, that bracket and how it went. And Night Rose was not a bad pick either, but I just went with a comfort pick because Bree, she was like, hey, just play what you want. So I ended up taking Anj.
Alrighty, sweet. Yeah, you know, we love those like impulsive decisions of, oh, I'm going to play this, and then it works out pretty well. So without further ado, let's kind of get on into the list here because there's some interesting picks that stood out to me. Originally picking up the deck log. So of course, like, you know, you have like your standard, like you have your tier 1, you have your Anjas. Talk to me about this card.
Oh, Relenka. Okay, so
Relenka.
Before that, go back to the deck name. I'm gonna tell you what. It's a funny story with this deck name. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
Literally, that's what this deck was built around. I did not test this deck at all because I haven't tested. Not Stan. I'm sorry. I haven't tested V since Worlds. Like seriously, or on a competitive level. Because I mean, I messed around at locals, but I was mostly playing like Luard and stuff like that. So I haven't touched Anj in God knows how long. And the reason why I say let's see what happens is because this entire deck was solely based on a theory. And my theory was behind this deck and that card that you just pulled up there, Relenka, the grade 3, was that I need to apply as much on-hit pressure as possible to compress my deck and also net advantage while also putting pressure. So this card here is a double standard card. What I mean by that is that, for one, it has an on-hit pressure that says when you hit, add a copy from your deck or it drops onto your hand. As a secondary skill, it says if you have 2 copies of this card in your hand, when it swings, you discard 2 copies and draw 2 cards and restand it. So it restands mid-battle. So the attack is still going through. The attack does not fizzle. And essentially what this does is that you're getting the on-hit pressure to compress your deck, or even if you're just adding copies back from your drop zone just to add more card advantage. So that way it's just a free PG fodder, or if you just want to use it for its actual skill, you have access to do so. A lot of times people have 1 or 2 options. Either they take it and get a +1 off of it, or 2, they guard it, which still nets me advantage state. So that was my theory behind that. And there's a grade 2 that's there as well. It has a similar skill. Actually, it has the same exact skill. Yep, that one right there. She has the same ability with on hit. You net a copy of herself from deck or drop, add it to your hand, and discard 2 cards, restand, draw 2 cards. The whole idea is to compress my deck as quickly as possible so that way I can hit a bunch of defensive triggers, especially considering that walking into this event, I expect to see a ton of Gurgwit. And I was like, I need advantage. I think the pure version of Anj is not bad, but this version is kind of high roll, a little bit more risky. You're missing like the Sarius, if I'm not mistaken, is her name.
Mm-hmm.
The one that scries top 3, add a card, and bot deck the rest. So you're losing a bit more consistency on trying to find your Anj, but you're adding more on-hit pressure and more cards to draw you a bunch of cards as well, which also forces your opponent to want to guard early, and you can take advantage of that because a lot of times I already have a second copy of that card in my hand, so I'm just baiting my opponent to see if they'll just take the bait and take the hit. If they don't take the hit, sure. If they take the hit, sure. I don't care. Regardless, I'm going to get my restand off. That's why I also have a secondary restander in the deck being Tira as well at one copy.
Yep. And also too, like you can do interesting plays, right? Where like you have this on the board and then like the call off Anj is the other one. So that way you can proc the restand effect, right?
Yes.
If I'm reading into that.
Correct. And it's another funny play as well, where you can actually trying to recall how many attacks you can get off. I want to say it's 6 or 7 attacks, depending on the setup that you have. So the promo grade 2 that you see there, the cycle card. Yep, that one right there. So she has a pretty unique ability as well, where when your opponent's at grade 3, she's a little bit of the weaker of the cycle cards compared to the rest of the counterparts for the rest of the clans. But it also has a very powerful skill at the same time, where it's not it's restricted to your opponent being at grade 3 to call a card, but you still bounce a card back to your hand. So she's a 2-part card. One, when your opponent's at grade 3, considering that when you're going into Gurgwit, you're expecting them to hit their superior ride, right? So even if you're going first, 9 times out of 10, if they hit an Ezel package, they're going to go to grade 3. By the time before you hit grade 3, you're going to be a grade 2 by the time they hit Ezel. So when you're if you high roll them, when you ride to Anj, they'll be on Ezel. Now this card is fully live, where you're going to be able to do like more multi attacks. So on swing, kind of by swing, you bounce a card back. and then you get to call a mermaid card from hand. So a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm calling out the grade 2 that's like Relenka or Relenka herself, just to apply more on hit pressure, so that way I get more multi-attack stuff. So what you can do is if you have the Relenkas, like 3 Relenkas in hand, you can go put the force mark on the side, swing with Relenka, discard 2 copies, resend or draw net 2. Then you use this promo here to swing, bounce back to Relenka, assuming that you hit you +1 anyway. Call back to Relenka again, swing. They might block it because they're trying to see if they can hit a defensive trigger. Now you have a copy in your hand and a copy on board. You swing with Unch, you bounce everything back because Relenka is actually a soft once a turn. So you're able to do it again because the card resets itself. And also this card just acts as a tutor as well, trying to find the setness as well, so that way you can try and get into your Unch as quickly as possible because this deck needs to see Unch. If you do not see Unch, you're going to have a terrible time. I promise you. That's what ended up happening me in
X2.
2 of my Swiss rounds.
Yep, go have lunch when you don't find Anj. It's pretty bad. Alrighty, and then there was one other one too. That was an interesting pick. Yeah, of course, we have like the Ellie defensive package because that card's broken.
Correct, and it just adds more hit pressure as well.
Yeah, true. And then you got to flex with the bang dream crits. Cool. We're doing the 3-1 split of the heals.
Yep. So,
would you change this to 4, or would you keep it the same?
I would keep it the same. To be honest, there's a time where there's 2 instances. One was actually in the finals, and it was 2 times in Swiss rounds that this happened where I would go Lisa lot, call off the top. It will be the Heal Guard. And I was like, okay, cool. That's fine. I'm looking at my hand. I will have Jermaine in my hand, which is the promo, the cycle card, where I can swing with the Heal Guard, swing with the Jermaine, and pick up the Heal Guard for follow-up. That actually happened twice in Swiss rounds, which is hilarious to me that it happened because I was going against a Gurgler player, mind you. I also low rolled against a Gurgler player as well, but I applied so much pressure early, putting them to like 3 to 4 damage. Because a lot of times Gurgler wants to take hits. Take advantage of those on-hit pressures. Force them to guard you. Or at least net advantage off them taking just the hits. And I end up bouncing this back to my hand, heal guarded them, blocked their turn, got a crack that turn, and then I ended up shredding their hand, if not just outright killing them.
Real.
And the Bane Dream triggers, that's a bit of a bold move on my end. Realistically, these should be Bermuda crits. I just wanted to flex with them just because I like the Bane Dream triggers. Just match the aesthetic of the female aesthetic. Ideally, you want the mermaid triggers because in case there's a situation where you have to call a mermaid card with Jermaine, you're able to call a trigger back down. But there is never a time where I feel like I needed to call a 15K shield just to swing at my opponent. Never.
Yeah.
Also, I don't run Martoa because the card is bad. I hate letting my opponent net 1 card and then end up drawing into a PG, being able to survive my turn. The only card that I would say, or the only changes that I would make to this list realistically, was cut the Aqua. Either I would bump the Aqua to 2, or cut the Aqua totally and add Saria, if I'm not mistaken, is her name, the one that scries top 3. Discard a card, scry top 3, gets +5. She's not in this list, but
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I would cut the Aqua and cut 1 Lisa lot for 2 Sarias. Just so that way I have more consistency on trying to find Unch. Again, the biggest issue with this deck is if you don't see Unch, it is really, really bad. And that's what happened in 2 of my Swiss rounds against Gergowitz. I felt like if I actually seen the Unch in those matchups, I actually probably would have won those games because they wasn't having that great of a time against me because of the pressure that I was applying. But I ended up getting stuck. Like one of the games, funny story. I was sitting there playing. I looked at my hand. I had a Relenka. I molded back. I drew another Relenka. I was like, oh, God, this is terrible. I end up doing my turn. I end up swinging. I end up drive checking another Relenka. I was like, oh, God, I was going to guard with this. So this way I can jizz this for the Unch. So next turn, I go Great 2-turn. I call Lisa Lot. Lisa Lot calls Relenka off the top of my deck. I was like, oh, beautiful. Now I have 2 Relenkas in hand. So I can go ahead and try and net more cards. But again, I just still couldn't find Anj quick enough, and I ended up losing that game.
Okay. Yeah. So how many other like non-Gurgit decks did you play at the event?
Okay, so I got the handy dandy notes here. So,
oh heck yeah!
So from round 1, I fought Regalia Himiko. I ended up winning that game. I did win a dice roll in that matchup. Regalia Himiko is a very, very underrated deck. I will sit there and say that. It's pretty scary if you don't know what to do against the deck, and if you just walk into it blindly, you just kind of auto lose. So them being able just to stack their crits on a Yujutsu and then restand for like 4 damage. You get damage choked pretty easily in that deck too, so you'd be pretty smart with how you use your CB. Luckily, I had somebody at my locals that used the deck prior, so I was kind of familiar with the strategy. Then round 2, Gurgit. Round 3, Gurgit. Round 4, Gurgit. Round 5, Gurgit. Round 6, Gurgit. And then round 7, I was like, oh God bless, don't tell me it's another Gurgit. They said, nope, it's Night Rose. Oh, cool, I'm good, I'm chilling. And then after that, we had top 8. Shout outs to Richard again. I ended up destroying Richard. Sorry, Richard. Love you, guy. Ended up beating him. He was playing MLB. Big kudos to him. That was bold of him bringing MLB, but it's one of his favorite decks, so I can't even blame him. And then in top 4, I ended up fighting Gurgit. And then in the finals, again, Gurgit. So all in all, I fought Gurgit 7 times.
That's insane. That's actually crazy.
And out of the 7 times, the 2 I lost in Swiss was to me not finding Anj, which were super winnable matchups. If I would have found them, I just would have won. And in top 4, it was a very, very funny game with that one. I was going against my one of my homies, and he was on Gurgit. He did his whole shenanigan or whatever, what have you. And I was putting a lot of on-head pressure on him. I had 5. My hand got trapped with 5 grade 3s. I just kept drawing too many Anjas, and then I had the Relenkas in hand. Although I used them, I still unhit, and he let me add them back, which is cool. But when I used the Relenka skill to restand, I ended up drawing 2 triggers, and I was only at 2 damage. He goes, okay, swing at you with Vanguard. I go 2 to pass, because my hand realistically wasn't that good. I was at 2 damage. I say, I can take a couple of hits, try and see if I can hit a defensive trigger here and there. I knew he had a bunch of attacks coming my way. I felt like I could survive. He goes, check 1, draw. He goes, you know what? Screw it. Everything Vanguard. Check 2 crit. So he broke my 2 to pass. I had no defensive triggers because the 2 triggers that were on top, I drew off the Relenka, which was a crit and a heal, which I actually would have hit the heal. I was like, oh no, this is so bad. So he ended up killing me in top 4. Luckily, shout outs to Ali, shout outs to Will. They end up having my back. They end up clutching out their games.
Yeah, I heard that Ali had a rough day, but he clutched out when he needed to. So we shout out to the Messiah for holding it down.
Bless up. I think he actually dropped either the first 2 or 3 games. But like I said, the games that he won were the ones that we needed him the most. And regardless, even the ones where we swept, regardless, a win is a win.
For sure. So very cool. So if you had to give your thoughts on try format as a participant, what kind of would you say for feedback for in terms of like to Bushiroad or to even like the player base itself?
That's a tough question. I guess I'll answer it in 3 parts. For one, I think try format, people should definitely give it a shot. Don't knock the format just because you feel like, oh, I'm just kind of locked into it and that's it. I do understand people's gripe with the format because you feel like you're locked into just playing the best deck of that format and then that's it for you to see results. That is not necessarily true. Take it from me, from somebody that actually played in the format themselves. Yes, you do want to bring the best deck to give yourself the best opportunity to win, but you can also bring what you want to it. Prime example, Richard Garcia. He took MLB, and he was actually doing really, really well. I can't remember his personal record, but the fact that they made top 8 and we had 7 rounds of Swiss, that means his team had to have a lot of trust in him to believe in the deck that he wanted to bring, and he did it. Matter of fact, shout outs to Kalen as well, one of our other team members on Kingslayer.
Yep.
He got top 4 with hamsters. Nobody expected hamsters. Matter of fact, he beat every Gurglewood player, did not drop a single game. And mind you, most of the time when he won a dice roll, he said, "You go first." Slaughtered the Gurglewood players. Matter of fact, the Gurglewood players, every time they would turn around and I would talk to them, they would say, "Yeah, man, I was playing this guy. He was playing hamsters, and he had Excel marks to the point it was off the mat." I was like, "Yes, sounds about right."
Hamsters do that. Hamsters do that. Shout out to the true Great Nature Clan leader.
I guess my dog also wants to say hello because he keeps coming up over me.
For sure, yeah. Pets are the best. Mine just tried to come in my room, but all right. So okay, cool. So you do have like trust, to play the better deck. Do you think there would be any changes forward? Do you think Bushiroad should continue this, or should they go back to having the separate format days for Springfest?
I like the separate formats, but I do understand the reason why they're making a tri format because, for one, it kind of caters to all the players that want to play a specific format. They're not locked into, because you have players that strictly play V, you have players that strictly play Premium, and then you have players that strictly play Standard. And you're able to be like, "Hey, homie, I know you only play Standard. Come join my team. Hey, man, I know you only play V. Come join my team." Just being able to build a bond with different people is pretty fun, to be honest with you. Like I said, I enjoy the format, and I also did not enjoy the format at the same time because I feel like with V, because it's such a stale format at the current time, if we had more product to push for V, I think V would be in a much, much better spot, or at least have proper hits. I think tri format would be phenomenal, but I feel like with the format, having them separated would be more ideal. They cater to like all the players that actually just strictly want to play Premium, because sometimes you have a full team full of just Premium players, and you have a full team full of Standard, full team full of just V Premium players. But because Bushro is pushing out more TCGs, I get why they're making a tri format, so that way they can cater towards all the player base, while also trying to push out more card games such as like White Schwartz. Shadowverse is also very popular as well now. And of course, having like 3 different Vanguard events, it's kind of hard to juggle all those. So 5 events in one setting is extremely hard. So condensing it to just 3 makes a lot of sense.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, and it was interesting too, because I know initially like most of our team was not that hyped, because a lot of us like lean toward Premium. Like, we come and we tolerate the Standard day, and then turn around and want to play Premium because it's the most enjoyable format for most of us. But out of everybody that went, they seemed to really enjoy their time. So I just kind of wanted to get into someone, since I couldn't participate, kind of what your thoughts are on it, since you climbed it.
Gotcha. And fun fact, I actually got 9th in Standard. It was kind of a dagger. That's my first time ever getting 9th in my entire life of playing this game for 11 years. I've gotten 10th, I've gotten 12th, I've gotten 11th, but 9th really hurts a lot because it's just like
9th does.
But shout out to Teams Crow's Nest, Ubi and Twan. They played phenomenally. Ubi going undefeated with Shiranui. Ubi kind of had a rough patch, but he ended up clutching up a lot. I also had my rough patch more towards the end, just some bad RNG. Standard to Standard. Sometimes things just happen and it's out of your control. But I will sit there and say that Standard is actually in a really good spot, considering all things. Granted, yeah, we're in the Shiranui, Hades, but neither they're pretty sure we're going to get a ban list pretty soon. It's going to follow the JP meta. And now with Divine Z coming out, I want to say White Plains is next week or week after next. Something.
It's the 25th. So in a little over, yeah. 2 weeks.
So yeah. So with that being said, I feel like Standard is in a really, really good spot, to be honest with you. There's so many good decks: Welstra, Varga, Razio, even right. Don't even sleep on Chris Rain. Chris Rain is actually low key kind of nice. It's not super broken or anything, but that grade 1 is broken. That grade 1 is insane. The fact that it's pretty much like a mini Hope on Depth is kind of crazy. It's like, hey, either PG me or guard with 3 different grades. And the crazy part about it is that if you guard with the 3 different grades, of course you might not have enough shield in those 3 different grades. You have to, if you want to guard extra, you have to throw out another set of 3 different grades. So yeah, so I think DZ is in a really, really good spot. Opening up Standard a bit more. A lot of more players are more hype. A lot of the premium players that I know are really hyped for DZ because it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. It's more interactions, more unique cards and skills.
I think the energy mechanic is pretty cool. As someone that took like a hard step back from standard, that has my interest again, is with a different resource system.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, well, awesome. Well, Crow, thank you so much. Again, congratulations. It's always good to talk to you and get inside one of the great minds of Vanguard, as I like to put it. And do you have any last shout outs that you want to give?
Whew. Yes, a couple of shout outs. For one, shout out to our sponsor, Kingslayer Cards. Be sure to check them out. Use the code Scholar.
Yes, sir.
There we go, my boy. Also, shout out to Dank Ritual. Again, use the code Scholar. Get you a nice little percentage off on that product. Shout out to MetaMats as well. They've been phenomenal with helping me with my events as well. Providing me with some nice quality cloth mats. They just added stitch borders to their mats recently. Let's see. Shout outs to Charlie's Collectible Show as well, which is a new venue that I host Crow's Nest at, and that the 6K KSC event will be hosted at as well. That's pretty much it. Just shout out to all my, fellow supporters. Love you guys. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to top these events. Just being out, hearing all the words of encouragement from like everybody from all over the world, all the different states, all the different countries. It's just the love and support is just phenomenal. I can't be more thankful, to be honest with you. I'm blessed to sit there and be able to say this.
For sure, absolutely, and we love having you as a role model and doing absolutely wonderful things for the community from year end. But that's going to do it all from today. Make sure, if you guys aren't already, if you guys want to stay in the know with my teammates and what's going on in the meta, make sure you guys hit that like, comment, and subscribe button, because I'm going to try to keep you guys up to date the best I can given my fluctuating schedule. But you guys will try to hear it here first. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your week. Until next time, God bless and take care.
Peace.